Hey guys, if you saw the last episode, you know that we have a decision to make. We've got to gut this shelf down here and decide what rangers get to stay, what rangers get to go, and how much space this shelf is actually going to take once everything is said and done. There's only 2 shelves left in this project before I actually have all of this sorted and we can finally start determining exactly what it is I want to collect, what it is I want to stay with, what it is needs to go, and a full evaluation of the collection is done. This has been a long project, but there's only 2 shelves left, so let's go over the Ranger shelf and figure out what stays, what goes, what moves, all of that. Step 1, we gotta gut the shelf. Okay, so that shelf had become pretty random, actually, over time. I just kind of been stuffing stuff down there because there was room, and there's stuff down there that really doesn't belong anymore. Like, I got this display right here, and I got Vampire Hunter D, and while Vampire Hunter D is really cool, like, really cool, we have to admit, he doesn't necessarily belong on that shelf. If I had to say where he belonged, I'd say I'm going to add him up to the more random shelf. This is the shelf that I do things like I put Freddy Krueger and stuff like that on. So that makes a lot more sense. So I'm just going to go ahead and move him up there, and then we'll talk about some of the other items. Okay, so being honest with myself, the next thing we really have to talk about, and of course I dropped him before I could even talk about him, these knick-knack things. These little things like a tiny Kimberly right here, which is kind of cool, but like, okay, and then all these pops. I don't care about pops. I don't like pops. There are an incredible few pops that get to stay on the shelf, and in all honesty, while these are good and fine, they're not really for me. I have a tiny Green Ranger. Maybe at some point there was a point to him. I don't know exactly what it was, but like, there are other things that I could put in its place to get rid of all of that knick-knack stuff like this. I could get rid of all this, and I could probably space out another 4, 5, maybe even 6 action figures. The space that one of these pops takes is enough to fit an action figure easily. Most of the time, like, replace this Pink Ranger with the standing area that a Pink Ranger's legs would have went in, and you'll see what I'm talking about. These things take up a space where a good figure could have went, a good 6 or 7 incher that would have been like a really solid figure. Instead, I got a big head guy, and these are fine for people that like them, but I'm not really into pops, and I've definitely noticed that more and more as the last couple years have drug on. I didn't like pops to begin with, and I don't really care for them even more as the collection has grown, because they're just like weird gift space fillers that are kind of cool, but just kind of take away from the overall. Let's be honest here, we all have a certain thing that we like to put on our collections, and we have a certain quality standard, and these things take away from bigger pieces that would have made more sense. Like, sure, I have a little bitty Pink Ranger with a giant head. That's cool, but what I could have replaced it with is the Lightning Series Green Ranger, or the new Chun-Li Ranger, or a Cammy Ranger. I heard that's a thing now too. I heard there's a Cammy Ranger, like a Cammy White Ranger from Street Fighter. These are all things that would have made more sense in their spots than filling the spot with this, which are really, in my case, just space fillers. So I think all the pops gotta go. There's also this, which used to make sense when the dagger sat on the shelf, but the dagger doesn't sit on the shelf anymore. It actually sits in the garage on a display rack that I made, where I had this old shadow board that was connected to a type of rack that I hang my radio from when I work out in the garage space, and it just looked really cool that I didn't have anything else there, so I put some of the stuff up and hung all the weapons up, and they're kind of like a cool little display while I work out, while I do my boxing practice. I kind of look over at that wall. It's right under my music and everything, and it's just cool. It's a little inspirational thing. It cuts back to the martial arts and things like that, and the weapons and things that I like and think are cool from the Ranger series, some of the cool stuff that I have, and it just... that's where they belong. That's where they belong now, which really, maybe that's where this belongs, and then if I get something else that's kind of cool, maybe I'll get one of those sword sets. I've always kind of wanted a really cool sword set. If I find one that I really like, I have a rack, I don't know. And then again, maybe I could just get rid of this completely, but for right now, without a doubt, it has to leave the shelf. It serves no legit purpose. Next on that shelf, there was Bowser and a chicken. And the chicken is awesome, and Bowser is awesome, but Bowser actually needs to go on that shelf once it's sorted. So I'll put him down here on the floor, right next to this stuff, and he'll be under that shelf, and I'll remember to put him up there. And the chicken, I don't know where the chicken is going to go. The chicken is just awesome, because I watch Mr. Chicken videos, and they're funny, and I like to mess with sometimes. My wife doesn't see me coming, and I come around the corner with her and the chicken, and this was in my pocket for my buddy's wedding for a joke that he wanted to do, and then it just ended up in the back of my truck and ended up here. So, chicken. It doesn't go on that shelf. It's not going back on that shelf, but it is awesome. I'll find a spot for it. So once you break it all down, there's only so much that actually belongs on that shelf. And that's because there's only so much in terms of Rangers that I actually focus on collecting. And a good portion of that, all of that, if you want the truth of it, is mostly all Mighty Morphin. So he makes sense. We're going to scoot him over here. That was loud. We're going to get him about right there. He's a solid piece, and as I make these models, he will of course be on full display. I don't know, maybe I could move him over there. I'm not sure yet. Right now, he's in a fine spot. Right next to him is going to go the Dragon Zord, which is pretty cool. I got a Tiger Zord right here, which is pretty cool. We got a Megazord right here, which is pretty cool. And then figures. So we got Lord Zed that's going to go up here. We got Black Ranger. We got Red Ranger. We've got Yellow Ranger. We've got Blue Ranger. We've got Pink. We've got a Green. We've got a White. We have a Megazord from a Build-A-Zord set, which is really cool. We have the Ranger Slayer, which is in constant competition for my favorite Ranger design. So the Ranger Slayer and the Gold Ranger. These two are the two that I find to be the absolute 100% treasures. I just think they are the coolest designs ever in Rangers. I will say, with this Gold Ranger, I wish this had been more gold, but that's a different argument altogether. And then I have a Power Coin and a Morpher that's going to go up here, which I hope that once I have this sorted out correctly, we will put that That was weird. I don't know why it did that. But look, I'm going to put the Green Ranger coin in here because I liked him more than the White Ranger. Close that. Oh, my Morpher was upside down. So it wasn't wrong. Let's flip the coin. There's that. Put it in there. And put it up there. I don't know where exactly it's going to end up. White Ranger coin will sit on top of this. And that's all that really deserves to go back up on this shelf. That should be all of it. Let's run a pan shot right here. I'll set the whole thing up. We'll run a pan shot, show you what it's going to look like. So this is what I decided on. I decided the Green Ranger helmet in the corner, followed by the Ranger Slayer, which I mentioned before, is easily one of my all-time favorite Rangers that has ever existed. I put my Green Ranger in this pose where he's looking at the weapon like he's been granted a great responsibility at a horrible cost, because that's the way I see him, is that he didn't ask to be a hero. He also didn't ask to be a villain. He was given power, and now that he's used it for terrible things, he has to decide to make up for that sin, whether it was on purpose or not. I put the Dragon Zord above him because I really like the idea. I put the Morpher in the middle here to kind of play out this concept that I have, that I want this all to be a certain way. Like, I want all the Tommy stuff to be together right now, especially. You understand why. And so I got my White Tiger Zord back there, and I got him once he's come to full terms and even accepted this honor that he's been given, accepted the power that he's been given, and becomes the leader of the team. The force that drove the entire thing. I still think that Lord Zed is easily one of the coolest villains in the history of all stuff, period. And that might be a cool list too, is like coolest villains, like villains that I really, really, really liked. I think he brought Power Rangers into a whole new step. I put the Build-A-Zord guy all the way back there. I don't know exactly what to do with him yet. And I lined out the other Rangers across the front right here because I thought that was really cool, how they're all in front of the Megazord, and I just figured that worked. And then, of course, I ended with my all-time favorite Ranger, but like I said, very much in competition with the Ranger Slayer, and that is the Ranger Shelf. We have now completed this part of the collection, and we have that much space extra and all this open area because we got rid of the clutter. That's the Ranger stuff that matters to me right now. And that's everything. That's the entire shelf. Wonderful. We are one step closer to having this entire project done. And boy, have I screamed across the entire year to do this whole thing. This has been crazy. My end of year video was probably going to be pretty interesting this time, going over just how much we focused on the channel and things like that. Next will be the game shelf to knock down. And of course, I came out with an extra Godzilla, and I don't know 100% where he's going, because he might go up on the random shelf. I mean, he's pretty random, but then there's an awful lot of floor space where this dude could just be awesome. So I don't know. I don't know what he's doing right now. For right now, there. He kind of belongs on that shelf for right now, but I don't think that's his home. Thank you guys for hanging out today. We finished the Ranger shelf, and there's a lot more toys to talk on this channel, a lot more collection, a lot more fandom. So I'm going to get out of here later on, guys.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.